Something that's become big in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is alternate art, which are cards that get re-released with the monsters or things on it in new forms or poses. We used to only see the most notable monsters from the manga and anime get alternate art, but now, well, it's still notable monsters, they've just expanded it beyond famous anime monsters to be for big monsters from card storylines, archetypes, or just major meta staples. So to celebrate the massive influx of alternate art, we're going to pick out the weirdest pieces of alt art in Yu-Gi-Oh! These can be cards whose alt art looks weird, maybe there's a weird story behind them, or perhaps we simply never expected some of these cards to get any extra love. Also, we will not be counting art that was previously censored but re-released internationally uncensored, aka lost art. And since it's a video all about the visuals, I got here my co-host, Judgment Meter.
It says Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. I want to see that.
Judgment Meter, don't read ahead in the itinerary, it's the intro.
I've already forgotten what this list is about.
Now, let's print the top 10 weirdest alternate art in Yu-Gi-Oh! Number 10, Acid Trap Hole. Why did they give Acid Trap Hole alternate art over any other trap hole? The trap holes are a recurring series of traps that tend to go after monsters on summon, and they later got a supporting monster archetype, along with having an ongoing storyline on the art of these guys falling down these pitfalls that I covered in a couple other videos. There's over 20 of them now, but even in the early days, we had regularly released trap holes. Some of them were meta staples, others were just in playground decks because they were mediocre, but they were all we had, damn it, and Acid Trap Hole fell into the latter category. Its effect is you target one face-down monster, and if its defense is 2000 or less, you destroy it. It was fine for when it was released in early Yu-Gi-Oh! As a promo card in 2002, but there were better and more iconic trap holes out there. So in 2016, they released Millennium Pack, which brought us some new cards related to the manga, but more importantly for this topic, they re-released some classic cards with alternate art. Many of the picks were expected, being iconic anime monsters like Summon Skull and Celtic Guardian, and even some unexpected ones like Pendulum Machine still made sense, since it was featured in one notable duel and this set was themed around the anime/manga, though they did not have much to do different with it, so it was just, hey, do you prefer it facing the left or right? But mixed in there was the alt art for Acid Trap Hole, and I was just like, why? It was never particularly popular, and it wasn't in the anime or manga, so of all the trap holes to get the prestige of alt art, why this one? If they wanted to honor a popular one, Bottomless deserved it. If they wanted to go with a manga card, why not the original Trap Hole? But instead, it was just Acid Trap Hole, showing the guy falling in with a different pose from a different camera view.
Oh my goodness. Hey, he's not falling on his butt anymore. He's falling on his face.
And now his face can block the acid.
But you can't. Oh, okay, so either he has a super rad ponytail or it's that like horsehair thing that comes off of his helmet.
Which one would you prefer it is?
They're both good, but probably ponytail.
So does that mean you like this guy?
I mean, now I feel like I have a more emotional connection with this man. Like, I feel his pain. The other guy was like, well, he's just another dude who's falling into an acid pit. I was going to say an acid trip. You know, you don't really see much emotion. You see right up his crotch area. Oh, no. Okay, sorry. I thought his face was humorous. Now it's kind of eh.
What's so funny about the alt art face?
I thought it was like the oogly face. Like, you know, because my eyesight is for the shit.
Well, apparently his sucks too because he fell in a pitfall full of soup.
Well, I hope the soup at least tastes good.
The soup kills him.
Well, sucks for him.
That being said, in Japan, this card was a part of a big Yu-Gi-Oh! Video game series, Dark Duel Stories, that gave away promo cards in real life upon the release of the game's sequel, including Acid Trap Hole, adding to its rarity value. And in 2001, they released a pack with special alt art that was later released in the Millennium Pack internationally. So my best guess is it just got swept up in the alt art hype when they started doing it, and it had the one legacy factor of being a promo card to make it notable enough to be chosen. And unless I'm mistaken, to this day, this is the only trap hole to ever get alt art. There's a handful of popular holes still used today that deserve the alternate treatment, yet Acid is the only one to get that honor. Now I just gotta rank all the trap holes to see which is the most deserving of the alt art, noting that for later. Number Number 9. Gyaku Tennu Megami. For the 10th anniversary of the Yu-Gi-Oh card game at the end of 2008, Shonen Jump released a promotional pack of cards in Japanese, Korean, and English of famous monsters from the manga, with special art drawn by the creator Kazuki Takahashi. All these feature cool details and some action shots. For example, Celtic Guardian is fighting some dudes, Blue Eyes White Dragon is on top of a building, Jinzo looks sick, Dark Magician Girl was apparently too hot to handle and got excluded in English, but was later released as Lost Art, so I guess that's fine, but I wish it was never excluded to begin with. But there was one monster to get alt art that sticks out above the rest, a seemingly random level 6 normal monster from the early days with weak stats for that level, so it was never relevant, and it was never even summoned in the original manga. This card was Gyaku Tennu Megami. I believe the main reason she was included in this pack is simply Kazuki Takahashi liked the monster design and wanted to draw it again. You know, if the guy who created the series likes a card, then he can draw that card as much as he wants. We all have those random normal monsters that we like for the design, and I think it's cool that the creator feels the same way. Takahashi even drew his dog as a monster card in this pack. That being said, we technically can still call this an iconic card of the manga, since it had a role in exactly one scene. Kaiba threw it at Kimo's gun to jam it and get a reversal on him, which is one of those effortlessly cool moments in the series, and it cemented Megami as a monster who is notable enough to be in Kaiba's deck. Plus, it got a retrain based on that moment that we discussed on our first weird retrain list, so people were obviously paying attention. Also, internationally, the printing of this one-time alt art in 2008 was the last printing of this card ever until a re-release of old cards in 2024 for the 25th anniversary of the card game. Like when we did that retrain list, this was the most recent version of the card, which feels crazy to think about.
Oh my god, I thought she was bald. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just couldn't see her hair. There just needs to be more contrast.
Final note, on this card, as with every other normal monster in this pack, Megami's lore is written in default font instead of italicized font like all other normal monsters in the game. Pretty insignificant, but it's one of those fun facts that I've always liked. Number 8. Rescue Cat. Okay, the reason I'm putting it on this list is stupid, but this art made me have a stupid realization. The alt art itself was long overdue since Rescue Cat was a card that was so good it had to be banned and nerfed before it was brought back into the game, so it was very relevant to the meta. Send it to the graveyard to summon 2 level 3 or lower beast monsters from the deck, allowing for big synchro plays usually, and you could loop the effect if you could get the cat back on the field. The nerf negated the effects of the monsters it summoned, and limited the cat to a hard once per turn. The alt art is officially named its Fierce pose, where Rescue Cat is calling for the rescue team with its whistle in a ready for action pose. However, this alt art made me realize, how did Rescue Cat put the whistle in its mouth? It's a cat with normal cat anatomy and no opposable thumbs. Does it just kinda thrust forward to flip the whistle upwards and it lands in his mouth? I know we're talking about a cartoon cat in Yu-Gi-Oh that can somehow grip a rope, but this was my first thought when seeing this art.
Okay, see, at least that kitty is ready for anything, even though his helmet isn't clipped, but I can overlook that. Oh, and he has his whistle. He's blowing his whistle. You know what? He's doing something.
He's ready to go.
He's ready to go.
And by the way, why do you have a problem with original Rescue Cat? What's wrong with what he's doing?
Doing nothing.
What?
You got that helmet for nothing. For standing around doing nothing. I'm so mean.
What does Rescue Rabbit have that the cat doesn't?
Rabbits are fucking awesome. Look at that good boy. That rabbit has goggles and a walkie-talkie.
Okay, and the cat's also doing vital things for the team.
Just scooting around a whole lot. You know, rubbing himself on the floor. Cats are stupid. I'm terrible.
Her views do not reflect mine.
I know, I'm terrible.
Anyway, don't take my question about the whistle too seriously. They just need to give the rescue squad their own one-off cartoon like the Sky Strikers got to answer all of my silly questions. Number 7. Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Being the signature monster of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 protagonist Yuya, it naturally was in line for alternate art, and I appreciate what they gave us, but this art always felt funnier than cool to me. I get that this alt art art is supposed to show the dragon doing a cool pose where he's rampaging and hitting you with his tail as he turns his back, but I can't help but think it just looks like they took the picture from the wrong direction. It looks like he's trying to do the pose on his default art, but the cameraman was in the wrong spot and clicked the camera a bit too early, or someone hacked the camera like in a video game and we're seeing things that we shouldn't. Also, I can barely see his orbs now. The big appeal of Odd Eye's pendulum dragon is all the orbs on him, right? I see one on his head and then every other orb is cut off.
I'm sure for someone, this is their ideal content of some sweet grade A dragon tushy. It's not my content, but you do you.
Wait, what does this image even look like to you?
It's like he just came out of the shower and someone interrupted him and he's like, oh no, don't see my front dragon, but you can see my back dragon. Oh. Or, get the F out, this is my private shower time. You know, you choose your reaction. I have a thought here.
That being said, his other alt art where he's about to fire off a spiral flame strike is my preferred art for the dragon. I love those poses where a monster's a-charging their laser. Number 6, the normal elemental heroes. This one is here not for who did get alternate art, but rather for who did not. There are 4 normal elemental hero monsters in this very large archetype: Avian, Burcinatrix, Sparkman, and Clayman. Some people also add Bubbleman into the mix since he's the 5th member of the 5th Hope, but he does have an effect so he technically doesn't count. Protagonist of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Jaden or Judayuki, used the elemental heroes as his main archetype. In the 3rd season, Hao, or the Supreme King, takes over Jaden's mind and body, causing his archetype to turn evil. He uses corrupted versions of his monsters called evil heroes, but he's got to start with a few of the original elemental heroes both for materials and for narrative reasons. But to show that they're evil now, they have darker alternate art where they look more nefarious thanks to the shading, like Avian goes from a spring green to an evil green. We saw evil alt art of Avian, Burcinatrix, Sparkman, but not Clayman, and to this day, that has mildly irked fans that we never got evil alt art of the final normal elemental hero, especially since they were released in real life as alt art in one of the celebration sets. Whenever Clayman was shown in the Supreme King's deck, it was just the standard art. And if you want to count it, Bubbleman eventually got an evil hero retrain using his Neo form to make Clayman even more the odd man out. So because of that, there's a running gag and possibly legitimate support to just give Clayman his corrupted alt art already. They even have a template. In early GX, Clayman's card art was different, so they could just base it off that for a double reference if they need inspiration for evil Clayman.
Why is there an evil one?
I just explained that.
I know, but why does there have to be an evil one? Why can't they all be good?
Come on, don't you at least like the evil Burcinatrix art? You're sometimes a Burcinatrix fan.
She's pretty cool. Whoa! Where'd her clothes go?
That's just how she looks in the original. They released this design once in English.
How are her boobs and her vagina staying in? So many pasties. I do like her.
Now why don't you show this much enthusiasm towards Clayman?
That's because nobody wants Clayman, because he's stupid.
Judgment meter!
Not as stupid as Bubbleman, though.
Judgment meter!
I'd probably put Bubbleman last, and then him second to last.
Where does elemental hero Neos rank in all this?
Neos is stupid. Okay, I may have to rank them. Are there at least 10?
Yes, elemental hero is like the biggest archetype in the game.
If you want me to rate the best and or worst elemental heroes, like and subscribe and leave a comment. And if you don't, well, most of them suck anyways.
Once again, Judgment Meter's views do not reflect my views.
I'm hilarious.
Number 5, the Yokai Girls. The Yokai Girls are modern mascots of Yu-Gi-Oh, but only about half of them tend to be used in decks. I think you could make an argument that 5 out of the 6 of them can be viable, but I like how because half of them are good and sometimes even mandatory for fighting against the meta, all 6 get alternate art released at the same time because they're a team. If one gets it, they all get it. Really though, I want to talk about how hard some of this art goes. I feel they saved some of their best ideas for this art. I guess we'll go over each. The most famous and useful monster of the bunch is Ash Blossom, who has alt art on par with the original, just her being mischievous again, nothing that fancy. Next up is Ghost Belle, whose art is also on par with the original, but I like how there's character development, showing that she maybe wants to leave this mansion as she sees the moon outside. Also, I consider her effect to make her the third most useful girl, right behind Ash Blossom Blossom and the monster I'm about to bring up. Now for Ghost Ogre, she has a pose that looks like it could be in an anime intro or outro, where she's ready to slash that sword and throw that ward paper. Her facial expression makes it look like she's bored of how easy this is, like Bikin from Guilty Gear. Also, when I saw the alt art, I was like, oh cool, they added 2 more snow rabbits. But then I noticed, oh, they're on the original, they're just far in the back. So good for this card for giving them all attention.
Bun Bun! Wait, where's the Bun Bun? Is she the Bun Bun?
Around her, Judgment Meter.
That's the Bun Bun. The Bun Bun is a ghost.
Well, yeah, ghost is right in the name.
I was promised the ogre would be the ghost.
I don't know what to tell you.
I want to take the Bun Bun home. This is like a Kakaishi.
As for the 3 girls on the bottom half, let's start with Ghost Mourner, who is borderline. I think she's a fine backup card, but if you have Effect Valor and Infinite Impermanence, you would use those instead. However, for the alt art, I like how it shows her looking at the moon in the reflection of the water. It conveys the idea of the original card where she's looking at the moon, but now through a completely different method. Instead of looking at the sky, she's looking at the water. Next up is Ghost Sister, who I consider the worst effect of the girls, who has a nice shot of her looking up at the flowers on the alt art, rather than down on the flowers like on the original art. And finally, Ghost Reaper is doing this cool ass behind the back pose with her scythe. Like Ghost Ogre, her facial expression looks like she's done with it all, like she's Kana from Inuyasha. Now to rank their alt art in order from my bottom favorite to top, it would be Ash Blossom, Ghost Sister, Ghost Belle, Ghost Mourner, Ghost Reaper, and number 1 is Ghost Ogre. Look at that, a list within a list. Anyway, check out our weirdest Yu-Gi-Oh! Zombie list for more talk about the Ghost Girls. Number 4, Evil Twin Ki-sikil and Evil Twin Lil-la. The Evil Twins and their chibi VTuber monster forms, the Live Twins, are modern mascots of Yu-Gi-Oh!, with the Live Twins presenting duel replays in Master Duel, for example. The Evil Twins are the ladies' default forms, where they perform heists by moonlight, but I have a full backstory entry on them in my 7th backstory list, so check that out later to learn their whole deal. The primary members of their archetypes are their Link 2s, Evil Twin Ki-sikil and Evil Twin Lil-la. Each just needs one of the main or extra deck monsters with their corresponding names as material to summon themselves, and they can revive any monster with the other twin's name as a quick effect, so you're doing this little dance to keep on getting more of them on the field with their Link monsters. And you're triggering their effects when the other twin is on the field. Ki-sikil draws a card, Lil-la pops a card. And for the design, being so stylish, they have elaborate costumes. My favorite is Ki-sikil's hat, but she's got a new hat. So, to reward them for being such icons, in 2022, their evil twin forms both got new art in Japan, which I'd expect them to get. They were very popular. Both got more casual clothing with a big jacket that they were partially wearing, along with shots of their live twin forms in the background, and the live twin form of the other twin hanging out. I also mistook Ki-sikil as being mad at Lil-la on the Lil-la card in another video, but it was not anger. She was going, awooga, hubba hubba, and I agree.
I like how they're interacting in this one. That's cute. Oh, you know who she looks like? Someone from Tokyo Mew Mew with the buns. I don't know. I never watched it, but I read it, and that was a while ago.
Anyway, if you know about how much Konami tends to censor international art, you probably expected these two to get released in the West censored. Well, technically, they weren't, because they were never released in the TCG. I guess if they were going to change the special art, what's the point of releasing it? However, what I found the most weird is it did get a release in English with the censored art, but only in video games and not even in Master Duel first. It was released in the Speed Duel version of the game Duel Links in 2024, where we finally got to see the censored alt art. Ki-sikil was given more mesh top, and Lil-la's bust size was reduced and she was given more leg coverage.
I think they're called tights. But I don't know. Are they tights? Are they under her shorts?
Honestly, not too bad. I might have not even noticed if I wasn't specifically looking for it. They even added a rip in Ki-sikil's extra shirt to fit with her ripped tights.
It looks cooler. The asymmetric look is so in.
How do you like the Lil-la energy in the corner?
I don't even know what she's looking at. She's just totally zoned out. She looks like one of those mascots that are just big and poofy that don't have blinking eyes and they just sort of move. You know what I mean? Like her eyes literally can't move. They're literally dead inside. Well, literally dead outside, but alive inside. Lil-la, look at the camera. bruh. I can't. I'm busy gaming. Gaming waits for no one.
But the point is, these cool-ass alt arts made their international debut in the mobile game in 2024, which was still popular, but nowhere near where it used to be compared to the TCG and Master Duel. Then the alt art got released in the main video game Master Duel, where they got a fancy summoning animation, and they bumped up the rarity to make it harder to pull from a pack, which no one should be surprised at, but still, it was the coolest way to summon these cards. I just find it funny how this alt art is now available in all versions of the game except the real-life card game in the West. We know they have the censored art, so that's not holding them back, and it even got a paper release in Korea, but for whatever reason, they just don't want to release it anywhere else. Maybe they don't feel right about selling expensive alternate art that is censored in this case only. Probably not. Since they've waited this long, they might as well just release them uncensored in a lost art promotion at some point if they do want to sell them. Or if Konami wants to be extra funny towards me, they will finally sell them right after I release this video to make this part of the segment irrelevant. Just like when we made all those jokes in a video about no one knowing why Air Neos never appeared again, and then we learned about Ravidactyl less than like a month after we released that video. Number 3, Tiger Axe. Remember the Millennium Pack that had a bunch of alt art that I discussed in the Acid Trap Hole segment? Well, there's one more card that was in that pack that baffles me to an extent on why it got alt art to begin with. Tiger Axe. As I mentioned, if there is a monster in a notable manga or anime duel, I get it. Even if they're as minor as Keith's Machines, they still had at least one good battle that justifies the art. Tiger Axe, though, was one of Joey's jobber monsters that he sent out to die during those scenes when his monsters would get knocked down one by one. Its legacy was getting summoned against Mai, which had cool manga art that the original card art was based on, then immediately getting destroyed by Harpy Lady due to field bonuses, and it was later destroyed in another duel with no acknowledgement against Dragon Zombie. So I want to know, why pick this jobber monster over any of Joey's other jobber monsters? Why no alt art of Misaki, or Armored Lizard, or that cool beard guy? Hell, why no Battle Warrior alt art? He's the jobber that actually passed his potential to win. The reason this alt art exists in the first place is because there was a Shonen Jump promo in Japan in 2000 themed around Joey, which came with alt art of two of his monsters, Thousand Dragon and Tiger Axe. But still, my question is out there. Why Tiger Axe over anything else for this pack? There were only 3 cards in it. It's not like they were recreating his whole deck.
The way that he's so bulky up top and so skinny on the bottom, he kind of reminds me of when the toons come out of the book in that like genie way.
That's a great observation, Judgment Meter, but you're looking at the original art. Here's the alt art.
Oh wow, so different. He's now proportionately buff. I like to think that he's wearing nail polish, like a white and then a gray, and then a white and then a gray. I'm counting his fingers. Oh, no, that's correct. He has Summon Skull shoulders. I want him to be Summon Skull.
You can also just play regular Summon Skull.
I could. I theoretically could do that.
Regardless, we have this extra Tiger Axe art now, and it fuels my small desire to one day retrain him in a Joey-related archetype. Number 2, Harpy's Feather Duster. The timeline of Harpy's Feather Duster's second art is a bit confusing, since the alt art was technically different depending on the region. In Japan, the first art released was based on the manga art, where it's sweeping away House of Adhesive Tape, which has the layout of a monster card for some reason. This was available in the Dark Duel Stories promo pack in 1999. The alternate art was then released in a premium pack in 2001 in Japan, which has the more famous art of the feather in action dusting away some mystery card. After that, Japanese re-releases swapped around the art a few times, but the alt art essentially became the default, being what got reprinted more, and appearing as the only art for Duster in more recent video games. However, internationally, the alt art was the first released art in 2003 as a promo card that came with one of the Game Boy Advance games, and then we got the original art released as the second art in a tournament pack in 2006. We saw a mix of both arts in the TCG, but the second art that was technically our first art was primarily re-released. Back in the day, it was so hard to come across a Feather Duster in general, we really didn't get to see it at all until it was mass-produced in structure decks, so I never even knew about the original art until many years later, and I just thought it was some manga and video game exclusive art. It's interesting how the alt art overtook the original art so much much that the first art released feels like it's a special edition art at this point. And if you're not sure which art to call the alt art at this point, we have definitive alt art for Duster now. In 2024, Duster got another alt art, which shows Harpy Lady actually using the weapon. No weird story behind this one, I just love the art. Harpy Lady looks so happy, and she deserves to be happy since she gets no good support anymore. She's probably going to terrorize a village of Ojamas with it.
Oh my god, that's terrible. That's so sad. I mean, it's not the saddest thing ever. Like, if it was Karibo's, I'd probably be sadder, but this is at least a little bit humorous. I feel a little bad. Murder!
For number 1, it's just the weirdest artwork we could find. It doesn't matter if it was some super exclusive card, this art has perplexed us for years because of one little detail. Number 1, Flame Swordsman. I just want to jump right into talking about his weird hand, but I'll give the background like we do for everything else. Flame Swordsman is Joey's or Jonochi's original signature card in the manga and anime. It was a normal monster there, but it was arbitrarily turned into a fusion monster when released in real life. Its default pose is the same as the card pose in the manga, where he's wielding a sword in a ready-for-action stance, and it premiered in one of the first sets of cards ever, being the starter deck in March 1999, given out at the theatrical release of the first movie by Toei, which was part of the anime series prior to the well-known anime by Studio Gallop. The card then saw widespread release in May 2000 in the Legend of Blue Eyes Japanese set, and later internationally in 2002 with the same set. However, between those two Japanese releases was an extra Flame Swordsman, a release that not only squeaked in another release of the card, but gave us alternate art as a part of a promotion. In a starter guide released in May 1999, it came with a single promotional card, being Flame Swordsman with a new pose. This was a mere 2 months after the original card was released. The alt art was dangerously close to being the first art in the game. And if we're talking about alt art that came out in 1999, the same year the card game came out in general, that means it has to be one of the first instances of alt art in the game at all. Flame Swordsman was prominent in the manga, so it made sense why he got the alt art to begin with, but since he was a bad card in the real life game with no archetype until many years later, this alt art did not see many re-releases compared to other signature monsters that also had early alt art, i.e. Dark Magician and the Blue Eyes White Dragon. It didn't even get an international release until the Millennium Pack in 2016, giving this alt art a 16-year gap for an English printing.
I feel like him and Celtic Guardian are kind of on the same level of like OG-ness, except I like the elf better.
What does Celtic Guardian have that Flame Swordsman doesn't?
He's wearing spandex.
There's definitely a skin-tight material on Flame Swordsman too.
Oh wow. Wait. Why are his fingers like that?
And there it is. While the story of how it came to be is interesting, the real reason we even wanted to talk about it is the art is so uncanny. It's the hand. Why does his hand look like that? How did they draw it like that? How can he physically bend his fingers in both those directions? It looks like they drew half the hand and then copy, paste, and flipped it. The hand is the most distracting thing. It's so unique. I don't know any Yu-Gi-Oh monster hand that looks like that isn't one of those intentionally horrendous, indistinguishable monsters.
He has a butt hand. It's like a butt chin, but a butt hand. I don't know what part of your hand that's called, but it looks like a chin butt.
The face is also different from the original art, having more defined cheeks and chin with more visible eyes, but this actually looks closer to how he looked in the manga when summoned, so that feels intentional. This alt art never got reprinted internationally, but it did in Japan. Perhaps the legacy as an early card promotion lives on in nostalgia, since there have been a few re-releases as recent as a secret rare printing in 2024. Now that Flame Swordsman has a competent archetype that cheats out the fusion, this alt art can be used for more than just weirding out your friends at his freaky hand. So for having art that makes us question Yu-Gi-Oh physics more than any other card, and having a surprisingly in-depth alt art backstory, Flame Swordsman cuts down the competition as the weirdest alt art in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, what did you think? Did all this art strike you as strange, or did we observe things way too closely? And what are some of your favorite alt arts in Yu-Gi-Oh, whether we discussed them or not? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.